What is up, everybody? The most shocking upset in boxing history. I put a video out today. What's up, Jonathan? I put a video out today of 5 of the most shocking upsets. Um, Curious to see what you guys think. What you guys think is the most shocking upset in boxing history? I put a video up. I got Manny Pacquiao versus Marquez 2, right? Which was that knockout that AJ versus Ruiz. Interesting. I wouldn't say that's the most shocking in history. I mean, number one most shocking and the biggest upset, this takes the cake for both, is Tyson and Douglas. That was the biggest upset. And that was also the most shocking upset, I think. But then you also have Pacquiao versus Marquez, Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling. This one, painful, Roy Jones versus Tarver 2. Foreman Ali, Floyd Patterson versus Igimar Johansson. Then there's a few more. I mean, can you guys think of any others? To me, it's it's Tyson Douglas. Biggest upset. Easy. I mean, Pacquiao versus Marquez was always a 59-50, so it wasn't 50-50 because if you remember when Marquez fought him, Pacquiao was on that tear of TKOing. He wasn't knocking he knocked out Hatton, but Margarito, Mosley, he beat Mosley, didn't he? De La Hoya, like he was kicking the crap out of these guys. So Pacquiao had never been knocked out. He had been knocked out twice when he was like 19 with body shot. But it was like 10, 15 years. He was the one handing down the knockouts. He wasn't getting knocked out. So the most shocking isn't the biggest upsets. The most shocking, which usually is a lot of circumstances, how it happened, how that happened. Same thing with Roy Jones. After the first fight with Tarver, if Roy would have lost a decision, it wouldn't have been crazy. It would have been an upset. But that he lost with a one-punch knockout when Roy had only been down once in his career before that. That's what makes it shocking. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you guys go back further, I don't know if you guys know about this. This is for hardcore. This is for like boxing historians, but Joe Louis versus Igmar Johansson, Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling, and Floyd Patterson versus Igmar Johansson. Those were huge upsets. Both in which both times the rematch, the favored fighter knocked the guy out in the rematch, redeemed himself. I guess Hassim versus Lennox was a huge upset. He's not getting up Jim. Oh, yeah, you're talking about Roy, right? Yeah, that hurt. That hurt me. Tyson hurt me. The Roy hurt me. I'm trying to think of ones that affected me. Like which upsets affected you guys? So obviously, this is all going to be like a personal thing. What upsets affected you guys the most? Like maybe not all of boxing culture, but you specifically, where you're like, ooh, like to me, Tyson hurt. Tyson hurt a lot of people, especially from New York, especially from like the hood. It hurt. Roy hurt me. I was kind of upset when Prince Nassim lost. I'll be honest. I was a big Prince Nassim fan. And when Barrera kicked the crap out of him, just beat him up for 12 rounds, that upset me. I didn't like that. What about you guys? I'm trying to think of other big upsets over the years. there's a lot of upsets, but, like, what makes it a shocking upset? Like, whoa, it's usually the way it happens, not that it happens. Somebody loses a decision, you're shocked, but you're like, but somebody gets knocked out when they've never even been down before, that's shocking. Moore versus Foreman, shocking, but not crazy shocking because Moore had gone down in the past. And Foreman, of course, is Foreman. It's the hardest, one of the hardest punchers in history. Bivol versus Canelo was a big upset. Ah, yeah, Bivol versus Canelo was a big upset, but it wasn't shocking. Wilder versus Fury the second time was kind of shocking. Nobody thought because Fury was not knocking anybody out at that point. He was just outboxing people. And after their first fight, he just out. So when he just brutally stops them, that was shocking. Bivol's a big dude. Yeah, Bivol's bigger than Canelo. So yeah, that definitely made it shocking. Um I mean less shocking. Bivol's bigger than Canelo. So a lot of people expected it. I didn't know much about Bivol. So I wasn't really that shocked, but I also wasn't not shocked. It was like, okay. Usyk versus AJ. It was a little shocking, but nothing crazy. What's up, TD Sports? Um, the most shocking upsets we're talking about. I mean, in general, I don't think boxing has a lot of upsets. If you think about it, for the most part, the fights go the way they're supposed to go. Spence versus Crawford was shocking. It wasn't an upset, but it was shocking. Yeah, that was a shocking fight, not shocking upset. Um, Tyson losing to Holyfield too. First time was shocking. Definitely. Tyson Holyfield 1 was very shocking. Holyfield 2 was shocking. Tyson Holyfield 2 was shocking for a different reason because he chomped on him, but the first one was a shocking loss, man. Really, I was like, Jesus. Um, you know what? Kovalev getting knocked out by Canelo, to me, that was shocking. That was shocking. Like, who would have thought? I just didn't think he could knock out Kovalev. I thought he was going to actually bit off more than he could chew with that one. I thought the same thing about Pacquiao versus Margarito. I thought Pacquiao was biting off more than he could chew, but he beat the crap out of Margarito, like vicious. Espinoza beating Ribisi. I don't know who either of those people are. So maybe you're right, but I heard of Espinoza, but I don't know who Ribisi is. Tio's lost to Kambosos. That was shocking for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Josh Taylor losing to Tio was kind of a surprise, but it wasn't a shock. I mean, I don't think anything beats Tyson Douglas in terms of a shocking upset. I don't think anything beats it. That was insane. You won money because of the crazy payout. You really? How much did you win? Because it was 40. Only one casino was betting on Tyson Douglas. It was 42 to 1. So you put down $100, you're making what? 4,200? Is that right? I wonder what'd you make? If you don't mind sharing it. You thought what fight could have been a draw? Mexican. Um, Sonny Liston and Ali was shocking. Very shocking. Matter of fact, Joe Frazier Foreman was shocking because nobody thought Foreman would just dismantle Frazier like that. You know what I mean? The Cuban Robeisy Ramirez at featherweight. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I should, but I don't. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what other fights were crazy shocking. You went under 8,000. So you put about, I can't even do the math. You put what, like $500 down, something like that? Good for you. And that's back then. That was like $8,000 back in 97 was what, like 15, 20 G's now. Good for you. I never bet. Fun fact about me, I've never bet once on boxing. I never will. I don't bet. If I'm gonna spend money, I just think it's stupid. I know people enjoy it and it might be part of a rush that people get, which I get. I'm not criticizing other people. For me, I'd rather, if I'm gonna spend money, I want to get something. Give you the money, you give me something back in return. I don't want to just get back adrenaline rush. Stevenson beating Dawson the first, yeah, when he knocked out Chad Dawson. What's his name? Adonis Stevenson. Yeah, man, he should have fought Kovalev back in the day. They never made it happen. And then Adonis got injured really bad. What's his face? Baldemir beating Zab. That was shocking. That was a shock for sure. Floyd almost going down against Mosley was shocking, but that wasn't an actual whole fight. That was just one moment. I wonder what the next shocking fight's going to be. Well, you know what was shocking, actually? Not of all time, but Ngannou almost beating Fury. That was surprising. I was shocked. I was like, what the hell? I was, man, running my mouth. I was talking about a brutal knockout, a stoppage. They shouldn't be in the same ring. And really, they shouldn't have been. I wasn't wrong. It didn't turn out the way it should have, but I wasn't wrong with that. Those two, I mean, they shouldn't have been in the ring with each other. He shouldn't have lasted one round with Fury, considering both their backgrounds. Stevenson beating Dawson. Yeah, man, Dawson. I think was Hopkins shocking? His wins when he went down to 154 pounds, which is just not fair, considering he's probably a 75 pounder. But him beating Trinidad and De La Hoya, kind of shocking because he was also 48 or whatever he was, almost 50 years old at the time. He was like my age. Yeah, I thought Fury was gonna kick the crap out of him. Like, I thought Fury was gonna destroy him. Box him. No, I thought he was gonna just. I think Anthony Joshua might knock him out because I think Ngannou now has a bit of a false sense of security. It's like, oh, I went 10 rounds with the best heavyweight in the world. I almost beat him. So I think he's going to be a little braver now with Joshua. But Joshua's a big boy. In fact, Joshua's an inch bigger than Ngannou, but unlike he's also the same weight. Now Fury was heavier and bigger, but Joshua, I don't know how strong Joshua is. You know, his build makes it look like he might not be able to. Ngannou might not be able to physically push Joshua off of him, like, you know, and have that physical strength advantage he had over Fury. He might not. We're gonna see. That'll be a fun fight to watch, though. Got a bunch of fun fights to watch, man. And I wonder which of those fights are gonna end up being shocking. You know, Usyk Fury, Beterbiev Bivol. See, these are all too evenly matched to be shocking, but what else we got coming up? I only bet when payouts are lopsided. Tio fights tonight. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be probably doing a live commentary with the Boxing Voice, with Ness over at the Boxing Voice. I only bet when payouts are lopsided. Picked Crawford. Oh, what? Did you? Damn, John Mack. You are on a roll with betting. So you were able to pick the rounds in which it had ended, and you got paid 6-1. What'd you make on that? Joshua's gonna want to prove a point in this fight. It's gonna be bad news for Francis. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. And Francis is gonna be extra confident, like overly confident. I think I won't front. I kind of want Francis to get knocked out just because I feel like he slapped my girlfriend in the face, my wife in the face. My wife is boxing, and he slapped her by almost winning. So I want to see him get put in his place, even though he seems like a cool dude. 1,200. Okay, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Trout beating Cotto. Mm-hmm. Trout beating Cotto was, for sure, big upset. Tio beating Josh Taylor was a bit of an upset. At least I won't lie, like I thought Teofimo was gonna lose to Josh Taylor. Given Josh's last performances and given Tio's last performances, when you kind of analyze the most recents, it didn't look like it'd be a good thing for him. But he showed us what he's made of. And Josh is so much taller, but it didn't matter. That's pretty impressive. So Tio's very quick at leaping in and out. He's very fast with his feet and his movements coming in. So he showed that. Pack versus Thurman. Yeah. Yeah, that was. But Pack, I mean, Thurman almost won that fight. Like, it was razor close. Marco, you going to the O'Shaquie Foster versus Nova fight next week? Where is that fight? TD. It depends where it is. I don't know. I don't know if I'll go. Yeah, where is it? And when next week? Is it like in Jersey? Probably in Jersey. That's at the theater. Who else is on the card? A lot of MMA fans are talking reckless because Fury getting whooped by Francis Ngannou, so hope Joshua sleeps him in a vicious manner. He didn't get whooped. I think he barely pulled it out, but he took his ego took a loss. Boxing took a loss that night. It's next Friday. Oh, Shushu's fighting at that fight. Oh, yeah, maybe I will go. I don't know much about O'Shaquie Foster. Yeah, that's a good little card. They're probably struggling to fill the seats because now it's like unless you have a huge name, it's hard to fill boxing seats. Yeah, maybe I'll go. So I don't. By the way, it's not called the theater anymore. I could tell you're from New York, old school. Now it's called the. Oh, it is the Hulu Theater. Right, the Hulu. They used to call it the Paramount Theater back in the day. Now it's right. There was the Paramount Theater. Now it's the Hulu Theater. So they keep the theater. They just switched out Paramount Hulu for Paramount. Yeah, I remember that. It has those are iconic like neon lines on the ceiling. You always know it's there. I went to go see Roy Jones fight Bryant Bannon there in 96, I think. 97. One of those. Dope. Roy put on such a show in that fight. He threw like 5 left hooks in a row, like pop, 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 pop. He was killing him. That was a fight where he stopped and told the ref, stop the fight. The ref said no. He goes, okay. Boom! Slept him. Yeah. That was a dope fight. And then on that same fight, you've been a fan for a long time. Well, I was a fighter too, man. I've been a fighter since I was 13. And I've been watching boxing since I was probably 11. That same card, Obakar fought Ike Quartey on the Roy Jones undercard. At that. A doper fight I went to. This was at the actual Garden, not the theater. This probably is the best, most exciting fight I've ever been to in person. Was Prince Nassim versus Kevin Kelly. That was dope. The whole fight had such amazing, exciting energy. And I was going for Prince, even though Kevin Kelly, I'm cool with him now, and he's from Queens. But I was going for Prince. Roy and Prince were like the two fighters, were my favorite fighters all throughout the 90s and into the 2000s. Yeah, that fight was amazing. I've been to a few fights. I saw Roy Jones fight James Toney in Vegas. I saw Holyfield fight Moore in Vegas. I was at that fight live. Wilder facing King Kong in I think the rematch. I was at that one. Those are probably the biggest ones I went to. Because I don't really travel to Vegas for fights, so. Corral? What's Corral? Why? I don't know why you're saying Corral. That is confusing me. But I'm trying to think of other big, big upset victories. I can't really think of any others. Can you guys think of any other big ones? James Toney doesn't get the respect he deserves in the sport. He does. He does. I think he does. I think we're just very fickle. We're not fickle. We're very recent. We have a recency bias. So, especially in boxing, and I know that because I'll put out videos, and when a video is just focusing on, usually when it's just focusing on something older fighters, um, nobody cares. But I could put out anything right now. But even though Shockey Foster, who's not even really a known fighter, will get more views than me putting out something, you know, about, I don't know, an all-time great. It just gets more now because people now, I feel like the internet's maybe more flooded with current people. Oh, Corrales Castillo. That's the best fight I've ever seen. But I didn't go to that. Corrales Castillo 1 is the best fight I've ever seen. Who was better than Tyson? Who was I just talking about? I don't even know. Who you think was better than Tyson? Holyfield? I mean, he proved to be. Nobody thought it, really. I don't know what the odds were, but they were definitely not good. Holyfield was not the person who they thought was going to win that fight. You thought James Toney is better than Tyson? Well, yeah, he's done more. Way more. Sergio Martinez, that one punch knockout was shocking. Yeah. Because Paul Williams had never been knocked out, I don't think. So you're right. Paul Williams, Sergio Martinez was a very shocking fight, the way it ended. The Pacquiao fight was shocking as fuck. For me, it was Tyson and Roy. I mean, what do you guys think? I think Tyson Douglas number one. Tyson Douglas is first, and then Roy Jones versus Tarver 2 is second most shocking. Now, for people who live back in the day, I'm sure Joe Louis losing was more shocking, or Floyd Patterson losing, or even Ali beating Liston. Jack Johnson losing, I think, was shocking when he lost to Jess Willard. Tyson's attitude is what made him. Yeah, but no, it's what he did too. Not just his attitude. It's what he did in the ring. You know what I mean? He was destroying people. And he was so fast and strong. You know? He was real fast and real strong. So, and he looked so like, he had this shit going like that. Always pissed off. He was scary. Oliver McCall versus Lennox. Yes. Yes, that's not bigger than Tyson Holyfield. I mean, Tyson Douglas, though. I don't think. But it's close. That's up there. What's more shocking, McCall beating Lennox or Hassim beating Lennox? I think it might be Hassim because Lennox wasn't who he was. He wasn't as established when McCall beat him. But when Hassim beat him, he had already beat all these people. A lot of Tyson's opponents? Yeah. I know. Tyson, if you think about this, Mike Tyson lost every single mega fight he's ever been in after he lost to James Douglas. So from 1990 on, he's lost every single mega fight. Every single hardcore challenge that he's been in, he's lost. Everyone. I mean, shit, he almost lost even to Francois Botha until he caught him with one punch. Botha was boxing the crap out of him. Jermaine Taylor losing a frock. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Tyson lost to Holyfield twice. Lost to Lennox Lewis. What other big challenges? He beat Ruddock, but I wouldn't say that was a mega fight or a big challenge. Any Tyson fight back then was a mega fight because it was Mike, but Ruddock was not considered a huge, like, oh, he might beat him. The last person that Tyson beat who people thought had a decent shot was Michael Spinks. A lot of people thought Spinks could possibly outbox him. Larry Holmes was a big win. Spinks is the biggest win, I think, possibly. I mean, and he beat all these champions when he was younger. You know, he knocked out to get the title. He knocked out what's his face, Trevor Berbick, and all these guys. So, if Cuss could have been around, Tyson would have never lost. Yeah, or Kevin Rooney, who you guys, those of you who know me, Kevin Rooney trained me for a while. If Mike would have stayed with Kevin, he probably would have. But you know, it's hard to remain that intense as a fighter. I know, man. That's why I would always have to take time off. It's hard to remain that intense that long. You gotta have something fucking wrong with you. You do, or you're real angry. There has to be, you know, life has to be aligned perfectly dysfunctionally for you to continue being a successful fighter for your whole career. Ali Liston, yep, I already said that. I agree with that one. I take nothing away from him. He's one of the most iconic boxers. Tyson might be the most skilled boxer in history, meaning gifted natural ability. I've never seen the combination of speed and power like that ever. Him and Roy. I mean, Roy was faster, but Tyson's damn close pound for pound, considering Tyson's, 220 and Roy was 168. The speed, Roy had the speed of a strawweight. Tyson had the speed of like a featherweight. Or maybe a welter. Tyson had the speed of maybe a welterweight, like a fast welterweight. Cinderella Man was a huge upset. Braddock versus Bear. Yeah, I guess. I guess it was. That's true. I mean, Dempsey losing to, what's his face? Gene Tunney was a big upset too. That was a big upset for the time. Yeah, that in the rematch, Jack Dempsey almost beat him, knocked him down there, and there was that famous long count. And Tunney ended up winning. Dempsey had him out. Yeah, man, Gene Tunney is one of the best fighters in history. People don't give him props. I don't think he only lost once or he never lost. No, he lost once. But he never, yeah. Yeah, Dempsey was a monster. He was the first fighter, like Mike Tyson took a lot of his style from Dempsey. Come forward, bob and weave, no socks, no robe. He had even the fade haircut that he had at first was he was trying to be like Dempsey. Because the 20s, man, that was a real popular haircut, getting that fade. 20s were cool, man. I wish I lived in the 20s. The 1920s. I'm in the 20s now. Joe Joyce for Zhang. I wouldn't say it's an upset. I never thought Joe Joyce was talented. Joe Joyce is just a big guy, but he's so slow. So slow. Like computer glitch slow. Like buffering slow. Sort of a recent upset. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I didn't see that as an upset. His chin is supposed to be good, but he got knocked out. In the heavyweights, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? I'm going to be commentating the Teo fight tonight, most likely over at the Boxing Voice with Ness. This kid could give Teo problems. I think Teo wins, but I think this kid's going to make it a little difficult. I think the kid's going to make it a little difficult. Teo's going to need some rounds to figure him out. But then he's going to figure him out. Yeah, I mentioned Lennox's losses. I mentioned the one to McCall. I mean, he's only two. To McCall and to Hassim. Teofimo's an amazing fighter. Teofimo locked in, sharp, focused, can beat anybody. Tank any of them. Can. I'm not saying will, but has a great shot. Ortiz is from my town. You're from where? That's New England, right? Is Ortiz from New England? I might even go as far as saying he could beat Tank. Yeah, he could. Definitely could. I don't know if he will, but he could definitely beat Tank. Any Tank, Shakur, Teofimo, and Devin could all beat each other. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them beat the other one. Yes, Chavez losing to Randall was a big shock. Worcestershire. Fucking Worcestershire. Worcestershire. I can't do the accent. Mass. I'm gonna be in Mass soon. My niece lives out there. If the version of Teofimo that fought Taylor shows up, he might just stop Tank. Where do I think Tia went wrong against Kambosos? I think Tia was sick, like you said. He showed a doctor's report. So and the doctor's a known, I think the doctor released the report. She's a known physician in the business. So while he could be lying, she probably would have come out and said, I never said that. So a doctor's report from a fight doctor in the business said that he had air trapped in his lungs from his chest cavity for whatever it is, which made it hard for him to breathe, and he could have died if he got hit in the chest the right way. So that's why he lost to Kambosos, and I believe that, especially when you see how good he looked after. Meldrick Taylor Chavez was not an upset. That fight was pretty down the middle. People thought maybe Chavez, but it was down the middle. It was shocking how the referee stopped it, but the fight itself wasn't an upset. Yeah, he was going through divorce at the time, yep. I was supposed to talk to his dad yesterday, but I don't know. Leave him alone. They're getting ready for the fight, so. Yeah, I don't know. I remember watching Taylor versus Chavez live. Man, I couldn't believe that fight was fun. I couldn't believe that Chavez I couldn't believe how it got stopped. Couldn't believe it. Still can't believe it. I often wonder if Taylor would have been any different, if his career would have gone any differently if he got the victory. He still took the beating, right? Because that fight, him getting the victory, just takes the referee saying, okay, fight. And as he's saying, okay, fight, like the bell rings. No, let me rephrase. The bell's ringing. The bell rings as he's done, as he's counting. So if the ref just goes, okay, fight, they don't even go in front of each other. It's over. So he wouldn't have taken one more punch. I wonder if his career would have gone differently. Is it just the beating that he took that changed him? His mentality and his speech and everything? I mean, definitely his speech. Or is it the fact that he lost and how that crushed his spirit? Ref was not right. I disagree with that. The ref was absolutely not right. That's one of the worst stoppages in history. You don't stop a fight when there's no time left. That was competitive throughout the whole fight. Totally competitive, highest level of boxing for all the belts, all the marbles, where you're protecting the fighter. The fighter's not going to take one more punch. And he gets up. If he doesn't get up, you stop it because it's within the rules where he didn't beat the count of 10. This kid was up at 6 or 7. Not wobbling, nothing. Looked over his corner for a second because his Lou Duva jumped on the apron. You don't stop that fight. You don't stop that fight. Well, if the bell was after the count, it was right after. Like they wouldn't have. By the time they walked, the bell would have rang. He wouldn't have taken one more punch. Look at it again. He wouldn't have taken one more punch. And by the way, he was totally able to take. No, that's not true. John Mack, that is not true. The ref is absolutely supposed to watch the clock because You see how when the round's about to end, refs are right there saying, waiting, saying, okay, guys, bell's about to end. Listen for the bell. And he stops them. I've had other people try and say that, and that is absolutely not true. And if you refute that, then you're just being biased. The ref is supposed to know what time it is at all times because it's their job to jump in between the fighters and stop them when the bell rings. Right? You seem like you know boxing. Yeah, I know you'll agree with that. So it is his job to know the clock. That's bullshit. That fight should not have been stopped. Not at all. If he didn't beat the count or if he was barely holding himself up, yeah, it doesn't matter how much time's left. But it does matter if he's coherent and fine. He wasn't even stumbling. And he fought his heart out. Not in that instant? No, that's not true. Not true. And he was totally fine. Totally fine. Like totally coherent. So there's no argument to stop that fight. Zero. You have to stop a fight when you're worried that I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that. There's an argument because he took a beating. But when the fight is over, yeah, there's no in that instance. So it's kind of like what you're saying. In that instance, there's no argument for the ref to protect the fighter in that instance because the fight's over. But there would be an argument for the ref to stop the fight if maybe they had a few more rounds to go. So kind of goes both ways. Yeah, well, you could disagree. That's okay. Very few people actually disagree on that one. The majority rules in that one, but it's your opinion. Yeah, that fight was insane. It's crazy to see how somebody could land way more punches, but still have way more physical damage on them, just because it was a mix of ability of Chavez to take punches, but also how hard Chavez punches were. Because if you look at them, you would think that Chavez outlanded Taylor 4-1 throughout the whole fight, when Taylor outlanded him 4-1 throughout the whole fight, which was crazy. Looked in his eyes, saw nothing. You don't know what he saw. I looked in his eyes. The camera was in his face. He looked coherent. I know, you know when a fighter looks like they're not coherent. He looked coherent completely. And by the way, you can't be defending Richard Steele as a history of that stuff. I'm not big with conspiracy theories, but Richard Steele has stopped a few fights where he shouldn't have. His relationship with Don King is pretty well documented, and that was a whole another thing too. It's kind of what he did, unfortunately. So, what are you gonna do? Fundora versus Mendoza was a result I didn't see coming. Fundora versus Mendoza. Right, when Fedora got knocked out. And he kind of quit, right? Yeah, he kind of quit. Yeah, that was surprising me. That Fundora just stopped fighting. Ever hear Taylor now? Yeah, he's bad. He's in bad shape. I tried to get him an interview, but nobody could find him. I know he's alive and he's in Philly somewhere, but he's in bad shape. There's a few fighters like that, unfortunately. James Toney, which is very on paper is ironic. James Toney was one of the best defensive fighters ever, yet he seems like he took the most punches. But that's more because of what he used to do. Like he told me himself straight up, like he would just spar 20 rounds, not hit any bags, and just spar every day. So no matter how good you are, is what I try and tell people, sparring is where damage accumulates. It's in sparring. It's not really in fights. There's some fights I could put damage, but long-lasting, repetitive damage over years and years, that's sparring. Guys fight anywhere from 1 to 4 times a year, but they spar 4 to 5 times a week. So that's bad. Interpreter, yeah, he's hard. He's hard to understand. Poor guy. There's a few guys like that. There's a few. But that's what happens, I guess, when in boxing. That's why I'm glad I stopped. And I didn't spar that much. Like I would limit my sparring. They wanted me to spar every day back, like when I was an amateur, especially at Kevin Rooney's. I was like, nope. I'll do 2 times a week, maybe. I'm not doing every day. I would try and do once a week, really. But sometimes you you can't turn down sparring all the time because then, people call you a wussy. So my ego would stop me from turning it down. So I would do it more sometimes, but Mayweather sounds coherent. Yeah, well, here's the thing though. I heard that Mayweather is um, having memory problems, and I know a lot of fighters. Boxing affects you in three ways: speech, memory, or physically. Like some people will get like a little step. But usually the speech and the physical are together. But a lot of times it's just memory. My ex podcast partner Jeremy, his short term memory is shot like bad. Like he has to write shit down. My kids box. Yes, my son boxes. He doesn't. He hasn't really sparred yet, but I taught them both and my daughter how to hit the bag and throw punches. But they're young. They're very young. So Leonard fought 8 times in a year, twice, and 7 times. Sugar Ray Robinson would literally fight 3 to 4 times a month. A month. 3 to 4 times a month. Tyson, when he first turned pro, was fighting once a week. Once every 2 weeks. You know? So that's wild. Yeah, I think people need to spar, and I think people don't realize this. I want you guys to remember this. Big gloves are not better for you. Big gloves are worse for brain trauma. And it's simple physics. F what you heard. This is a fact. I've been hit with both, right? An 8-ounce or 10-ounce pro glove, it feels like a rock. An 18-ounce to 20-ounce sparring glove. Now, you heard what I said, right? 18 to 20. That's double the weight. Feels like is a cinder block. One feels like a sting, the other one feels like a douche, and it's simple physics. A collision happens when the mass that collides into another mass has more mass, is heavier. It's going to create a much more severe, a harder collision and impact. And that's the same theory behind sparring gloves. The difference is you wear headgear. Now, headgear does absorb some impact. It doesn't make the biggest deal in the world. It's great for cuts, even though Tyson Fury got cut. It's great for cuts, for preventing cuts, but headgear absorbs some of it. So I think sparring should be done in the normal gloves that you're fighting with, because then you're also getting acclimated for those gloves, and they're less damage. The only thing sparring gloves do a little better is, since they're bigger, they have more surface to block. So when you put your hand up, a normal glove would be here, but a sparring glove will go up to like here. So it's covering more surface and distance for blocking punches. But in terms of the fighter's health, no. Leonard fought 8 times a year and 7 times. These new clowns. Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I only believe in light sparring, soft gloves too. You don't have to follow through. Save the big stuff for the bags and the bouts. I don't agree with that, Dwight. Um, you gotta have a full dress rehearsal. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the play and not gonna memorize all the lines. So you don't have to go out, have a full dress rehearsal going all out all the time, but you have to do it in sparring. And really, the truth is, those of you in here, I don't know how many of you guys have fought, but from all my years of experience, 99%, 80% of the time, depending on who you're in there with. If you're in there with somebody who's way less experienced, you go easy. But 80% of the time, you're going all out, and there's only one difference. The difference is, if you hurt somebody, have them hurt, stumbled, you don't go in for the kill. You take a step back and let them recover. That's the only difference in sparring. That's it. Other than that, you're going all out. You're trying to land punches. Usually, some training camps are a little different. They might have people, okay, today I want you to just work on that jab, blah, blah, blah. But for general sparring, that's the case. Hard sparring is necessary, not something you should do all the time. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yep. I used to spar with no headgear a lot. Busted my eardrum one time. Forgot which one it was. I think it was this one. busted my eardrum one time because the glove, the wind, the way it landed, the wind went. I guess it hit, and all the wind went in, and boom, right through my eardrum and busted it. It was a freak thing too. It was weird. I haven't really heard many people bust the eardrum from sparring, but happened to me. A couple weeks I couldn't get it wet or spar. That was it. Ward Gotti won. What about it? What about it? I never really was a big fan of the Ward Gotti fights. Why, if anybody cares? Because it wasn't a high level of skill, and nobody was going to knock anybody out. Um, Neither of them were exceptionally hard or fast punchers. They were just hitting each other a lot. So in a way, it was almost like watching two drunk dudes in a bar have a bar fight that I guess have good chins. So I get why people like it because it's like exciting, the brutal nature of it, but I never liked it. Was it an upset? I don't even know who won. Was Ward beating Gotti was the upset, or was Gotti beating Ward the upset? I know they fought like 3 or 4 times. I don't think I've ever seen any of their fights all the way through. I have a few fights like that which I refuse to watch because they just I don't know. I'm like that with movies, like the Titanic. I refuse to watch that, even though it's a classic. So I'm same way with fights. Certain things where just I don't like the thought of it, so I don't watch the whole thing. They probably were drunk before the fight. Ward won, and that was the upset. Yeah, because I know Gotti was a bigger name. Ward was like a journeyman, right? Best fights ever. Yeah, that's what people say. Well, you're from Massachusetts. Now I see what's happening here. Now I see. You're New England biased over there. I've seen clips of it. I mean, I get it. Like I've seen a lot of clips. So you know what I think seemed like a similar fight? Corrales Castillo seemed like a similar fight, but that was a much higher level of skill and for belts, right? Because that was even for belts and a higher level of skill, and it had a little more drama, and it had knockdowns. Ward and Gotti had no knockdowns, right? Or maybe one knockdown. Oh, you're a Gotti fan? Okay, well, there goes that theory. I think Ward upset someone before the fight, knocked someone out with a body shot before that fight. Oh, yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. What's way better? I forgot what we were even talking about. Oh, yeah. Corrales Castillo, way better. But it was a version of that, right? Corrales Castillo was kind of a version of Gotti Ward. That's what I would assume. Just a much less skilled version with no knockdowns. So, you know, is it possible to be a defensive brawler? James Toney. That's exactly what James Toney was. That's exactly how you describe James Toney. So, yes, exactly. A brawler, in essence, is somebody who stays in the pocket and always throws punches. James Toney stayed in the pocket and always threw punches. He would just mix that in with like waist movement, dips, and defense and blocking. Ward Gotti way better? I don't know, John. You and me seem to be very different in our opinions here. I disagree. I can't disagree because I never watched it, but I know there was no knockdowns. I know it wasn't for a belt. I know there was no drama with spitting the mouthpiece out. I know there was no momentum swings like that, like severe. So it can't be better, in my opinion. But it's all about what you like, right? That might be what you like. I like, and I should see it first before I fully say it's not better. I should watch it, but from what I have seen, nah. Because I've seen a bunch of clips. You can't not be in boxing and not be forced some Gotti Ward clips down your throat. It's just in 3 knockdowns. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll give it another shot. Man, I don't even know who won those. It was like split, right? They had 3 fights. What? Gotti won 2 or Ward? I think Ward won 2, right? Ward was the upset. Gotti was in great fights when my man Ivan Robinson and him and Gotti got in. I mean, Gotti would just take one of the worst beatings I've ever seen was Floyd Mayweather against Gotti. That and the second one of the worst beatings I've ever seen, but that beatings that was exemplified unbelievable pugilistic skill from the guy who was winning, which was Floyd. Another one of those, same thing, beatings which exemplified skill, Roy versus Vinny Pazienza. Whew. You know, those of you who know me know that Roy Jones is my number one all time. I love Roy. I think he's the greatest fighter in his prime of all time. In his prime. By far. Felt bad for Gotti. Yeah, Floyd beat him bad, man. I mean, bad. You think Roy's the best, John? Because if so, that's the first thing we agree on today. We finally got one. Floyd couldn't. I mean, nah, he couldn't miss. I mean, this was Pretty Boy Floyd was turning those shots over and really just thumping them. It got to the point where it was like ugly to watch. You were just like kind of like watching, but you didn't want to, like a car accident. Yeah, Vinny. No. Oh, okay. So we didn't agree on anything. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, because Kevin, I remember talking to Kevin Rooney, who trained Vinny. As you guys know, that was my trainer. I remember talking to him, and he brought up the Roy fight. This was a year before it happened, but I guess they were already talking about it. And he was like, "Oh, he was like, Vinny will beat Roy." And me and him started arguing. I'm like, "Look, I know you're my trainer, and I'm cool with Vinny, but let's not get, let's not get carried away. There's no way in hell natural 140-pound Vinny Pazienza is going to beat Roy Jones at 168, who, by the way, is probably really about 175, but he's still making 68. This is it's on top of how skilled Roy was. It just, come on. That's the one thing I loved about Kevin, though. He would, if you were his fighter, his friend, he backed you no matter what. Even if it wasn't true, didn't make sense, it was unrealistic, he backed you. I can't remember who, just remember thinking Jones avoided someone. Oh, Mikuláševský probably? He didn't avoid anybody. That fight never happened. That was the only fight that never happened at the time. Mikuláševský wanted him to go to Germany, and Roy's like, "I'm not going to Germany." And that was really what happened there. Yeah, man. That Roy was I was watching him last night. Randomly on my YouTube feed, it popped up. Some of his like Art Serrano and some of his like with Reggie Johnson, and just like it was like watching a computer or a machine, like or like a bird swooping in. It was just so beautiful. It's like a paintbrush, like artistry. And Royce told me, by the way, that he watched animals growing up to learn how to punch and how to attack and how to go from point A to point B in the shortest distance. Because he's like a farm boy, country boy. So and it makes sense because he fights like with the artistry of a swooping in bird or an animal or like a snake, like, you know what I mean? Beautiful, beautiful stuff. You got to stop, or he'll be hiding his own Easter. That's fucked up. I think he stopped. I mean, I remember talking to him, and he was like, "I'm done." And then like 2 months later, he had his last fight. He had fought somebody else, and I was like, text him like, "You fighting?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "All right, I'm not gonna say anything." Well, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. A lot of these guys are going to keep going. I guarantee you one of today's stars is going to keep going for longer than they should. If it's Tank, if it's Canelo, if it's Fury, if it's Haney, I guarantee one of them are going to keep going, and we're going to be talking the same conversation about them. Like, they probably should have stopped 5 years ago. Old fight, but I love the dismantling of Percy Harris. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, Roy not getting touched by one punch in a whole 3-minute round is still never happened. His argument's like, well, then how am I not one of the best defensive fighters? And the problem is he didn't get touched because he was using his offense as his defense. But let's get philosophical here. That's still being defensive, is it not? That still translates into being defensive. So maybe he has a point. What do you think? That's why he's trying to step into alcohol business. Canelo? Yeah, I mean Canelo's, you know, Canelo's been boxing now for almost 20 years. Like as a pro. That's a long time because he started at 15. So he's at any moment he should walk away. He'll be one of the greatest ever. But now he might stay too long. He might F around and lose to Crawford, F around lose to Charlo. You know what I'm saying? Like F around lose to Benavidez, and then each one of those will start diminishing his legacy more and more because he's still young enough where you can't call him over the hill. Although Roy Jones at 33, which is what he is now, well, he was about 33, right? Or was he 34 when he lost to Tarver? He was done at that point. But it was different. Now 30 now 35 to 40 is when people it's okay. That's when people are still peaking. Back when Roy fought, it was 25 to 30. So you're getting like 10 years more now with exercise science, with nutrition, with technological developments, all that stuff. So fighters can go longer now. Hopefully we get to see the Benavidez fight. Yeah, that's not going to happen, I don't think. I love Benavidez. I think he is one of the best. I have him top 3 pound for pound. I don't care what anybody says. Top 3. Crawford, him, either NUA or Tank, depending. Then Beterbiev might have to go in there. You know, you have all those guys. The problem is only one of them have really fought top tier competition. So that's not the other guy's fault. There's just nobody in the division. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2 actually. It's good talking to you guys. I'm gonna try and do this daily. I don't know what's a good time though, but I'll try and do these lives every day if I can. I'll probably. You're surprised how bad he beat Andrade. I wasn't at all. That's what he does. Literally, if you copied and pasted his performances in every fight, especially as of recent, that's what he did. Took a couple rounds to figure out, chopped down, chopped all the way down, and dismantled. That's what he's done every fight. So I don't know why anybody was surprised. If he never did that before, I'd be surprised. Oh, you're in New Zealand? Cool. All right, yeah, maybe I'll come on around this time. I don't know what time it is in New Zealand. Oh, it's like 12 hours. So it's what, 3 a.m.? Or are you 24 hours different in New Zealand? Is it 3? Is it the same time? You're just a day ahead of me. I don't know. That's why I interviewed David Tua recently. I know he's New Zealand. Yeah. It's on the YouTube here. I don't know if you've seen it already. Cool guy. Then I talked to Ike Ibeabuchi too, a few weeks later, who also fought Tua in a massively popular slugfest. 9:30 a.m. 9:40 a.m. Yeah, so that's like 16 hours or something. Yeah, Shannon losing was a shocker for sure. Shannon losing was definitely a shocker at the time. It wasn't a huge shocker. I thought Andrade was going to be able to utilize his footwork. When you're a fighter like Benavidez, who's bigger and who knows how to cut the ring off and can box and has length, pause, when in his shots and his reach, the footwork can only do so much. Especially when somebody's putting you on the back foot and is chasing you and stalking you. It's a lot harder. I think Beterbiev might have a chance to beat Benavidez, but that's it. I don't think Bivol beats him. I don't think Bivol hits hard enough to beat him. I think Beterbiev has a chance to beat Benavidez. And I'm still not sure because we've never seen Benavidez perform at 175. His punches might not have the same crack on them. They probably will, but they might not. So we have to just wait and see that. But anyway, all right, kids, good talking to you. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my Instagram, please do so. I'm going pretty viral. I have few videos that are over a million, 1.5, whatever, million views each. My Instagram is really blown up, way more than my YouTube. It goes in weird spurts. My YouTube's gotten a little slower lately, but my Instagram, I'm getting like a lot of views, like a lot. Please go subscribe, check it out. Follow me. It's at Marco Boxing _ 3 underscores boxing. Same thing as here. Marco 3 underscores boxing. So simple. At the word Marco with a K, 3 underscores, and the word boxing. All one word. Check that out. Please subscribe. Yeah, you can always hit me up too. You could always message me there if you guys have any questions or whatever. All right. Peace.